May I kindly ask the professors to take off their caps? I open this session with a prayer. May the spirit of wisdom and mercy grow and blossom in all of us. Please be seated. I welcome you to this academic session on the occasion of the public PhD defense of the dissertation towards intercultural pastoral care, pastoral accompaniment of migrant and intercultural couples in the Catholic Church in the Netherlands. And this dissertation has been written by, and here's the full name, Ward Biemans. The PhD committee consists of Professor Konrad Blomlik from University of Opole in Poland, online Professor Francesco Pesce of the Pontifical Theological Institute John Paul II in Rome, and then of Dr. Juliette van Deurzen of the Department of Religion and Practice of Tilburg University, and finally Professor Marcel Sarraut, also of the same department of Tilburg University. The supervisors, sitting next to me, are Professor Jan Loffold and Professor Monique van Dijk-Groeneboer. Before we start the defense, I would like to give the PhD candidate the floor to give a concise summary of his research in terms that can be understood by the public. The floor is yours.
Excellenties, dames en heren, van harte welkom bij de presentatie van mijn proefschrift. U ziet hier een migrantenfamilie afgebeeld langs de kust van Engeland. Mijn onderzoeksdoel is geweest om te bezien hoe de pastorale begeleiding en integratie van migrantenstellen en interculturele stellen voor en na hun kerkelijke bruiloft verbeterd kan worden. De centrale onderzoeksvraag die luidt: in hoeverre laten de ervaringen van migranten en interculturele stellen die tussen 1995 en 2022 getrouwd zijn in de katholieke kerk in Nederland een patroon zien van culturele transitie, interculturele transitie of culturele behoudszin, met betrekking tot hun integratie in de kerkgemeenschap en de samenleving als geheel. Om de verschillende vormen van integratieprocessen duidelijker te kunnen zien, hebben we een onderscheid gemaakt in 3 verschillende dynamieken: culturele transitie, culturele behoudszin en interculturele transitie. We spreken van culturele transitie wanneer migranten elementen van hun eigen cultuur van herkomst opgeven, bijvoorbeeld hun taal of andere culturele gewoonten, en integreren in de gastsamenleving en in een multi-etnische kerkgemeenschap, waar bijvoorbeeld Engels, Spaans, Frans of Nederlands wordt gebruikt als gemeenschappelijke taal. Met culturele behoudszin wordt de dynamiek bedoeld die zich ontwikkelt wanneer migranten met een gemeenschappelijke nationaliteit banden aanknopen in de nieuwe gastsamenleving of kerkgemeenschap, en wanneer vieringen en andere pastorale diensten worden aangeboden in de eigen taal van de migrant, volgens hun eigen culturele gebruiken en beantwoordend aan hun sociale behoeften, bijvoorbeeld in de Poolse of Oekraïense gemeenschappen. In de loop van het onderzoek hebben we aan dit begrippenpaar nog een derde dynamiek toegevoegd, die van interculturele transitie. En dit houdt in dat bepaalde nieuwe etnische culturele elementen worden overgenomen door personen in een interculturele relatie of door Nederlandse gemeenschappen die migranten in hun midden verwelkomen. Deze toevoeging die doet onzes inziens meer recht aan de reële situatie van globaliserende samenlevingen, waarbij steeds meer mengvormen van relaties en culturen voorkomen. Dit is een mixed method empirisch onderzoek naar pastorale begeleiding van migrantenstellen en interculturele stellen. En dit betekent dat zowel met kwantitatieve als kwalitatieve onderzoeksmethoden is gewerkt. Uit het eerste deel, het literatuuronderzoek, wordt geconcludeerd dat huwelijksvoorbereiding, die vaak in een religieuze setting wordt gegeven, een gunstig effect heeft op de relatiekwaliteit van stellen en de kans op echtscheiding vermindert. Ten tweede heb ik als onderdeel van het kwantitatieve onderzoek een enquête gehouden onder 235 personen die hun huwelijk aan het voorbereiden waren of die getrouwd zijn in de katholieke kerk. Ten derde heb ik uit deze groep van 235 deelnemers 12 stellen geselecteerd voor een semi-gestructureerd diepte-interview. En bij de selectie van de 24 geïnterviewden is gestreefd naar een verscheidenheid van landen van herkomst en naar een mix van stellen met dezelfde etnische achtergrond en interculturele stellen. En ten vierde interviewde ik 10 pastors van migranten of multi-etnische katholieke gemeenschappen, opnieuw met een verscheidenheid aan landen van herkomst, zoals Oekraïne, Irak, Polen, Italië, Spanje en Nederland. De interviews zijn geanalyseerd met behulp van een SWOT-analyse. En SWOT staat voor sterktes, zwaktes, mogelijkheden en bedreigingen. Als we kijken naar de resultaten, dan concludeer ik allereerst dat huwelijksvoorbereiding met een duur van meer dan 10 uur positiever wordt beoordeeld dan huwelijksvoorbereiding met een duur tussen de 5 en de 10 uur, zoals beoordeeld door de stellen zelf. De Griekse letter mu, een u met een streepje, staat voor gemiddelde en een p van kleiner dan 1/100ste staat voor het niveau van significantie. Huwelijksvoorbereiding, waarbij gebruik wordt gemaakt van officieel cursusmateriaal, wordt significant positiever beoordeeld door de deelnemers dan huwelijksvoorbereiding zonder cursusmateriaal. Ten derde, een goede samenwerking tussen de verantwoordelijke voor de huwelijksvoorbereiding en het stel dat wil trouwen is een significante factor voor een positievere evaluatie van de huwelijksvoorbereiding door het stel. Ten vierde, huwelijksbegeleiding met een verwelkoming in de kerkgemeenschap heeft ook een positievere evaluatie door de stellen zelf dan huwelijksbegeleiding zonder een dergelijke verwelkoming. Ten vijfde, wanneer stellen streven naar verzoening na een conflict en geneigd zijn elkaar te vergeven, dan ervaren ze gemiddeld een hogere relatiekwaliteit. In het algemeen geven de bevindingen van het kwantitatief onderzoek aan dat huwelijksvoorbereiding en educatie en andere religieuze en spirituele activiteiten vaak een steun kunnen zijn bij de sociale en culturele overgang van het eigen land van de migrant naar het gastland. En dit kan migranten en interculturele stellen helpen om een goede start te maken met hun huwelijk en gezinsleven in de Nederlandse samenleving, terwijl ze hun culturele wortels blijven waarderen. De resultaten van de 12 diepte-interviews met getrouwde migranten en interculturele stellen laten zien dat patronen van culturele transitie vaker voorkomen dan patronen van culturele behoudszin of interculturele transitie. De tweede onderzoeksvraag voor deze tweede fase was: welke waarden geven stellen aan met betrekking tot hun huwelijks- en gezinsleven, hun geloofsleven en hun integratie in de Nederlandse samenleving? De meest genoemde waardecategorie is die van geloofswaarden, bijvoorbeeld christelijke identiteit, gemeenschapsopbouw, een bepaalde vorm van liturgie. gevolgd door gezinswaarden, bijvoorbeeld liefde, samenzijn, trouw en geloofsopvoeding. En ten derde maatschappelijke waarden, bijvoorbeeld verantwoordelijkheid, vriendschap en verzoening na een sociaal conflict. Een onverwachte uitkomst van het kwantitatieve onderzoek was dat deelnemers aangaven dat het zoeken naar wederzijdse verzoening in de relatie en het toestaan en ontvangen van vergeving van de echtgenoot belangrijke factoren zijn die een positieve invloed hebben op de relatiekwaliteit. En ik heb daarom verschillende aspecten van verzoening nader onderzocht. Verzoening met God, met elkaar en met de gastsamenleving. Verzoening met God kan op vele manieren vorm krijgen, sacramenteel of niet sacramenteel. Het belang van onderlinge communicatie om je met elkaar te verzoenen na een conflict of met de gastsamenleving werd door verschillende stellen genoemd. En het zou nuttig kunnen zijn om hier tijdens huwelijksvoorbereiding en educatie extra aandacht aan te besteden. In de vierde onderzoeksfase heb ik me gericht op manieren om de begeleiding van migranten en interculturele stellen en gezinnen door pastorale zorgverleners in Nederland te verbeteren. Uit de SWOT-analyse komt naar voren dat migranten en multi-etnische kerkgemeenschappen een groot aanbod hebben op het gebied van huwelijksvoorbereiding, volwassenenvorming en kindercatechese. En deze activiteiten en ook de liturgie worden vaak genoemd als een sterk punt. Veel Nederlandstalige kerkgemeenschappen zijn bezig met reorganisaties die belastend kunnen zijn voor pastorale zorgverleners en vrijwilligers en die ten koste kunnen gaan van vorming of gemeenschapsopbouw. Er liggen kansen voor catechetische en vormende samenwerking en voor gemeenschapsopbouw tussen migrantengemeenschappen, multi-etnische en Nederlandstalige gemeenschappen. Verschillende diocesane medewerkers noemen als een bedreiging dat de communicatie met migrantengemeenschappen niet sterk ontwikkeld is vanwege bezuinigingen of andere prioriteiten. Sommige pastoors die in grote parochies werken, hebben gewezen op de zware werklast en de toegenomen afstand tussen hen en de parochianen, zowel fysiek als spiritueel. Ik noem tenslotte 4 mogelijkheden voor verdere ontwikkeling van pastorale praktijken. Ten eerste intercultureel pastoraat, of hoe men kan groeien in interculturele gevoeligheid. Op gemeenschapsniveau kan intercultureel pastoraat worden ontwikkeld door bruggen te slaan tussen migrantengemeenschappen en multi-etnische gemeenschappen, bijvoorbeeld op het gebied van vorming en diaconie. Ten tweede, interculturele communicatie. Er liggen mogelijkheden voor tweetalige catechese, simultaanvertaling tijdens liturgische vieringen en vormingsactiviteiten en een effectiever gebruik van moderne communicatiemiddelen in contact met nieuwkomers. Ten derde, bevorderen van welzijn. Migrantenkerkgemeenschappen en multi-etnische kerkgemeenschappen spelen vaak een ondersteunende rol in het integratieproces van migranten in de gastsamenleving. Pastorale begeleiding kan een positieve bijdrage leveren aan de geestelijke gezondheid van personen die lijden aan eenzaamheid of depressie. Ten vierde, gemeenschapsvorming. Wederzijdse kennis van mensen, activiteiten en culturele waarden en normen tussen migrantenkerkgemeenschappen, multi-etnische en Nederlandse kerkgemeenschappen ontbreekt vaak. Diaconale projecten en vormingsprojecten hebben een potentieel voor intergenerationele, interkerkelijke en interreligieuze samenwerking. En zowel migrantengemeenschappen als Nederlandstalige gemeenschappen kunnen er baat bij hebben als pastorale praktijken in deze 4 domeinen worden geïmplementeerd. Ik dank u voor uw aandacht.
Esteemed candidate, thank you very much. First, before I open the dialogue with the Commission members, my role is also to request you to read out the integrity declaration that, if I'm correct, is lying out there in front of you.
Hierbij verklaar ik dat dit proefschrift mijn eigen werk is en dat ik tijdens mijn promotietraject heb gewerkt volgens de beginselen van wetenschappelijke integriteit. Eerlijk en zorgvuldig, kritisch en transparant, onafhankelijk en onpartijdig.
Thank you. And I will now open the floor for discussion with the Commission, and the first member with whom you can exchange information or dialogue is Professor Glomwijk from Opel.
Esteemed candidate, thank you very much for your work and for this presentation. My first question regards the structure of this work. The main part of the work is a research, and this is very good part of this work. And the conclusions are in the last part, in the last chapter. Could you explain this kind of presentation of structure and just justify it? Because for me, pastoral theology is not only research, but is theory about care for migrants, for other peoples, for believers. And please explain this kind of structure.
Highly esteemed opponent, thank you for your question, for clarification of the structure of my thesis. Central were the experiences of migrant couples and intercultural couples. And during my literature research, I've come across many research results from the human sciences. And I thought that this could also be valuable for a theological thesis, as what I intended to write. And the approach that we have chosen is to have this mixed method. So the whole structure of the thesis is divided into various sub-research parts, and we wanted to combine both quantitative and qualitative research designs. So that explains the structure of the thesis, that also based on articles in peer-reviewed journals. So we wanted to first have more insight in the experiences couples themselves have. So we started after the literature research with the quantitative part, because that gives the broader insights in what these couples find important and what experiences they have after their migration to the Netherlands or after receiving a migrant partner into the Netherlands. And then when we had these broad quantitative results, we wanted to focus more on personal experiences, go more into the depth of religious and spiritual experiences. And therefore we did these interviews, first with the couples themselves, that is chapter 3, and then also with the pastoral caregivers, because they are responsible that the marriage accompaniment runs smoothly. So, and in between there is this article specifically on the experiences of reconciliation and forgiveness, because that was such a remarkable outcome of the quantitative survey that we decided to delve deeper into that specific part, focusing on the sacrament of reconciliation, but also in a broader perspective, reconciliation among the couples themselves, reconciliation with the receiving society, because that can also lead to
Yes, I
cultural
understand.
tensions.
I understand you. Could you say if the conclusions could be theoretically developed, or your conclusion in your work could be developed theoretically in new works, in new articles, or what do you think?
I have made several recommendations. So we narrowed our research down to Catholic couples, and my first recommendation would be that this type of research would also be done, for instance, within the Protestant church communities or people with other philosophies of life who have decided to marry, or people with other religions, because, well, as Catholics, we value marriage as such. So it's first of all a natural commitment that is made between two people. So it seemed important that this type of research, which combines insights from the human sciences with theological insights, is also done for other groups than only Catholic couples.
Could be the conclusions understand as an answer to Amoris Laetitia, to Pope Francis, who wrote about formation of young couples and young people?
Surely. I think Pope Francis has, in Amoris Laetitia, made some very valuable recommendations. As a reply on the big developments of secularization, that the Church needs to take seriously marriage preparation, and that couples may be able to prepare themselves thoroughly. That is close to heart of Pope Francis, and not only before their marriage, but also in the first years after their marriage. That is also what Pope Francis recommends in Amoris Laetitia. Unfortunately, when I spoke to the...
Thank you very much.
Yeah? Okay.
Thank you very much. You are Jesuit like Pope Francis, and
yeah.
This is enough. Thank you.
There is ample time to discuss this further, but first I will give the floor to Professor Pesce, who is online. So, please switch on the microphone. Thank you.
Thank you to the candidate for the research, for the thesis, and for the presentation. I found the topic of the research very relevant to practical theology and to ecclesial life. I found in the thesis two major points. The first, that starting from lived experiences of Christians could help us address the change already underway for the life of the Church. And the second, that investing on married life can offer a way for migrants and for intercultural marriages to face a life in another society, in a new society, and a way to better cope with intercultural transition. However, I think the thesis could have offered more reflections on practical theology and ecclesial and societal implications. In this view, I will ask, my first question is in order to deepen the findings of the research. At page 136, while speaking of the new center offered by Jesus while living on the margins, the candidate states, "It has been shown by the experiences of migrants that often they become hosts themselves to other newcomers in the host country. And then practical theology should take this empirical intercultural dimension into account." So this is my question. Where did the research demonstrate this experience? And how can practical theology take this dimension into account? Thank you.
Highly esteemed opponent, thank you for your question on this clarification. It was particularly in the interviews I had with the couples that this passage that you refer to gave me new insights. When the migrant couples that I spoke with, and we had interviews of about 1.5 or 2 hours per couple, we found out that during their journey of inculturation in the Netherlands, they have gone through so many experiences of adapting to these new surroundings and finding a place within the church community and within the society, that having gone through these experiences, they become themselves hosts for others, for other newcomers. They take up voluntary tasks within the church community, and they can serve the community building by this specific experience that they have themselves gone through. And in your article I read from last year, you describe more or less the same experience for mixed couples, Protestant Catholic couples, who also can have an added value to the whole of the community. And the same insight I discovered with migrant and intercultural couples.
Yeah, because this shows that the religion can offer a way to work on intercultural transition, or how do you think about that, about the role of religion in building the common life, the life together?
Yes, I have heard migrants saying that their faith has been the element that kept their relationship strong through all the cultural adaptations that they needed to go through. So yes, I think that the church has a major role in this to play when they receive the couples with a warm welcome within their community, and I think that can be still improved, the way that that is done, but that then church communities can stimulate that for migrants in particular, their faith can also strengthen their relationships.
And what could be the role of practical theology on that?
Practical theology can surely be a help also for the church community to help this process and to analyze it from a more objective distance. I think in particular empirical practical theology can give a lot of insights, and that is what I wanted to contribute with my research. I think it can complement the more fundamental approach, which is often chosen within practical theology, but I think it can complement each other also to have this type of empirical research.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Then we move on to Dr. Juliette van Deurzen.
Is it on? Yes. Esteemed candidates, first of all, I would like to congratulate you on this thorough, structured, and transparent study, which I think is very relevant to pastoral theology, the church, and pastoral practice in the Netherlands. Thank you for that. The different research angles and the mixed methods approach yield very interesting results. I was wondering, if you were to give a course to pastoral workers and catechists next month on how to improve their way of working with migrant or intercultural couples, what 3 most important advices would you give them based on your research findings? I'm very curious.
Highly esteemed opponent, thank you for this question. I think, first of all, since my research focused on marriage preparation and education, that would also be my first recommendation to these pastoral caregivers, whom I could give a course, is to really take that seriously, because sometimes it happens that a preparation is a bit minimalistic. So the celebration itself is prepared well, but the attention for the couple and for their interaction is sometimes lacking, and that can be due to time restrictions, working pressure, etc. But I think a lot can be gained if also the communicative skills of the couple gets the proper attention during a marriage preparation. So that is the first recommendation. At the same time, I think that one needs to be cautious and flexible. If you deal with migrant communities, there is a huge variety, and you should really take that into account. An Iraqi community is very different from an English-speaking community with various nationalities. And we should avoid, that would be my second advice, to have a kind of paternalistic attitude that we know how this should be done, and if you adapt to that model, then everything will be fine. I think we should respect the cultural differences that are there and take them seriously. Acknowledge the variety that is there within migrant communities. Yeah.
And the third?
Very good. I need to think harder for the third one.
Perhaps you can illuminate us about, you said it was very important for the forgiveness and reconciliation, but how can you, in concrete pastoral care, contribute to that or make that more available to people?
Well, this is quite a delicate issue. I think I would more in general focus on cultural sensitivity, so that that pastoral caregivers take their time and also to find out if there are maybe certain issues, if you have an intercultural couple, if these differences within the relationships are properly acknowledged by both partners. Focus more on the dynamics within the couple, and not only take care of the liturgy, but see also how communication dynamics function. Yeah.
Thank you.
And so we move to the end of the row and give the floor to Professor Marcel Serrault.
Esteemed candidate, let me begin by congratulating you on a series of studies gathered together in this PhD thesis that I think is very relevant to all those engaged in marriage preparation and the pastoral accompaniment of married couples. Thank you for that. My question has to do, like some previous questions, with the structure of your book, and especially in this case with the relationship between your main research question and the lower order research questions. In an ideal case, I would think the lower order research questions are derived from the main research question. So I tried to find out how in your book that was the case. And if I see correctly, it's not the case at all. Your main research question, let me read it again, is to what extent do the experiences of migrant and intercultural couples married in the Roman Catholic Church in the Netherlands between 1995 and 2022 show patterns of cultural or intercultural transition or cultural defense regarding their integration into the church community and the society at large. So it's about married couples in the Catholic Church and their cultural or intercultural transition or cultural defense. But then the lower order research questions, they are on different topics. And most of them are on marriage preparation and marriage and relational education. Yeah. The first derived question that you mentioned is, to what extent can marriage and religious education and pastoral accompaniment before and after a wedding within the Catholic Church contribute to a higher relationship quality among migrant and intercultural couples in the Netherlands? So it's primarily about the effects of marriage preparation on the relationship quality, on the likelihood of divorce, mutual commitment, relationship conflict. And that does not seem directly related to your main research question. Also in your presentation right now, I see the same pattern. You presented 5 results to us. And all of these had to do with what made marriage preparation more successful. Official course material, over 10 hours of preparation, a welcome in the church, good cooperation between the person giving the preparation and the couple. And then only at the very last moment, and seemingly unconnected to these 5 results, you made some remarks about this cultural transition or cultural intercultural transition or cultural defense. So I'm quite surprised about the seemingly loose structure of your thesis.
Highly esteemed opponent, thank you for this question, which gives me the opportunity to clarify the choices that we have made. We based our central research question on a sociological theory by Steve Bruce, and he used these wide terms of cultural transition and cultural defense. So these are so wide that we had to narrow them down, and I was intrigued by the specific experiences of migrants around their marriage. So we focused these broader dynamics onto the marriage and relationship education of couples, and we distinguished these 2 broad dynamics. So on the one hand, you have cultural transition when marriage preparation is done in another language as the native language of the migrant. And in the other case of cultural defense, the marriage preparation is done in the native language, for example, in Polish or in Ukrainian. So that was to come into grips with these broad sociological terms. And I wanted, in the central research question, to have the experience of the couples central. So the sociological theory had to be narrowed down to these experiences of the couples themselves, because I am convinced that practical theology can gain from doing research on personal experiences. And, but of course, if you want to put that all into one research question, then it becomes a sentence that no one understands anymore. So we limited ourselves to mentioning these broad dynamics in the central research question, with the implicit presupposition that practical theological research should start from the experiences, in this case of couples, but on human experiences, and that can then lead to insights into these broader dynamics. Is that a sufficient answer to the question?
Yes and no. It explains the history of these questions. But then, if now at the end of the research you look back, don't you think that the term marriage preparation or marriage and religious education, if you look at all these partial researches that together form your book, that these terms should have been entered into the main research question, because in fact your research is about the effect of marriage preparation and pastoral accompaniment of young married couples, and the effects of that in the case of intercultural marriages. And so if you look back, shouldn't the main research question have been narrowed down at a certain stage?
Yes, that is exactly what we have done, and I still think that this was the right approach, because if we would have started with only a very specific research question, then we would not have been able to extend that on the question of integration. And that is what makes it also relevant for other readers than only Catholic couples. So I think it, and I hope it gets a wider significance.
You narrowed it down in practice, but not on paper. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We can start a second round of questions, and I'm very pleased to give the second time the floor to Professor Blombeek.
Estimate candidate, my question is about possibility to make much more universal conclusions, because you wrote and you made your research and wrote this work in a context of Dutch social problems and culture, and could we imagine much more universal conclusions, where the starting point is different than this in Netherlands? My question. What do you think?
Highly esteemed opponent. Yes, I think we could have more universal conclusions, and in fact that is what I tried to formulate. I think within the whole of Europe and also in other continents we have this phenomenon of increasing migration, and that gives all kinds of dilemmas, also political dilemmas, of how to deal with this phenomenon. And to my observation, because the discussion is so much focused on limiting migration, then the questions on how to successfully integrate within a secularized society gets lost. The attention to help these people to integrate, and that is of course a much wider issue that is playing almost everywhere in the Western world. So I think that with these results, it is shown that, that when couples are prepared in a more intensive way, a more professional and a more welcoming way, then also the integration itself in the larger society can improve. And that is also what the couples witnessed when I interviewed them.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we go over to the screen again. Francesco Pesce, go ahead.
Esteemed candidate, starting from the findings and the patterns your research revealed, could you outline some concrete options for the pastoral care of migrants, of intercultural couples, and for migrants in general? Thank you.
Highly esteemed opponent, some concrete suggestions for the accompaniment of migrant couples and intercultural couples. For instance, the Church has gone through the synodal process for the last couple of years. And I think that is very appropriate also for the accompaniment of migrants. And it is also acknowledged in the national report, the synodal report, that the attention for migrants is not so well developed until now. And through the synodal dynamics that can be improved to involve also migrant communities in the synodal process. So that is a concrete example of how theological insights can help migrants better to integrate into the church and the society.
Thank you. So our Catholic communities could learn something from migrants, from intercultural couples. What could our communities learn from them? What do you think?
I think to be welcoming communities, and that is if you try to visit the church in the Netherlands through a weekday, then often the churches are closed. It is important to be a welcoming community. And as I said before, because migrants have gone through that experiences of being welcomed in a new country, we as Dutch communities can learn from them how to better receive other newcomers.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. van Deurzen.
Esteemed candidates, in your last chapter, you refer to Peter Ven's Catholic migration theology. You explain that Ven's research lacks empirical research. You have now filled this gap for the Dutch Catholic Church. And I would like to invite you to reflect upon the following question. How might your empirical research findings contribute the other way around to migration theology? Could you share your thoughts on this?
Highly esteemed opponent, thank you for this question. Yes, indeed, I quoted Peter Van because his observation that at the margins of society a new center is created. Migrants, some of them with traumatic experiences, being refugees, they come in a new country. They find themselves at the margins of society, and Peter Van argues rightly that this can become a new center and an encounter with Christ, because Christ himself always went to the margins. He always had attention for the outsider and tried to heal them, to make them grow in faith, and to help them find their place within the society. So I think empirical research, as I have done, can help, because it gives a lot of insights on this kind of experiences that migrants went through, and that requires also from pastoral caregivers who have not gone through such an experience to place themselves into the shoes of a migrant and to try to imagine what it means if you leave behind your family, your language, your work, your friends, and come into a complete new surroundings.
So, what did you learn yourself from all these interviews and research on the migration theology? What were your own findings in this?
Peter Fan's more fundamental theology has some very challenging aspects, because at the margins you also encounter interreligious dialogue. There's, in the pluralistic society, of course, a lot going on. It's not only about Catholic communities. What I learned myself was that if you are a pastoral caregiver, you should not take it for granted that an integration process would run smoothly if you just offer what you always did, and that you try to take into account that somebody from another cultural background has other presuppositions and have sometimes gone through also traumatic experiences. And if you can grow in a more cultural sensitivity, and I think we can always grow in that regard, then that can be valuable for pastoral caregivers too, and for theologians as well.
Thank you, very interesting.
So, Professor Sarro, we are welcoming your second question.
Esteemed candidate, when I read your manuscript to evaluate it earlier on, I noticed an apparent contradiction in the manuscript and made a remark on that. The apparent contradiction is this, that at the opening page of your book, you say that the number of Christian migrants who regularly attend the church community service has risen in recent years. And that's one of the reasons why this research project is so relevant. But then later on in the book, that's at page 117, in footnote 269, you notice that research has shown that between 2019 and 2023, the number of churchgoers in Catholic migrant communities in the Netherlands has dwindled from almost 15,000 to just over 9,000. And also that this reduction is the same reduction or a similar reduction as the reduction we find in Dutch churchgoers. So in practice, in recent years, the numbers of churchgoers are going down, both for the Dutch churchgoers and for migrants. Now, it may be that this was in answer to my remark, but you've now added an explanation for this, and the explanation is COVID. Now, COVID had not yet begun in 2019 and was ended in 2023. This whole period was between 2020 and 2022. But it may be that part of this reduction in church attendance can be explained by COVID. But if this applies to migrants, it similarly applies to the Dutch. So still the fact remains, I think, that contrary to what you claim on your opening page, in recent years, also among migrants, the number of churchgoers has been reduced rather than that it has grown.
Mm-hmm. Highly esteemed opponent, If you look at long-term statistics, so if you look at developments during several decades, one should take notice of the long-term development. COVID was exceptional. So during this time, as you refer to, between 2020 and 2022, the numbers dropped, and in particular among the migrant communities, because there were all kind of travel restrictions, and you had the upcoming of live streaming, so that migrants could watch from their homes the church
I understand.
celebration.
I've read that,
yes.
In your footnote. But the question is, once the number of churchgoers among migrants long-term has gone up because the number of migrants has gone up.
Yes, that's
but once they are here, are they undergoing the same process of secularization as Dutch, as the figures seem to show? Or is there a difference in their situation?
There is a difference, as Kuja has shown. So the level of church attendance goes down, so was higher in the countries of origin, but still it is higher than among the Dutch communities. Migrants go to church more often than Dutch people, and also they pray more frequently than Dutch people do. So, and this difference remains. So, so there is indeed this broader development that after migration, church attendance among migrants is reduced, but it remains still higher than among the Dutch population.
Is this just because they lag behind? They start at a higher level, so they remain at a higher level? Or is secularization also going more slowly among the migrant communities?
Yeah, both developments are true. Yeah, so if you ask them about their faith, then the percentages are almost double with regard to their faith in God than among the Dutch population. So that difference, that becomes smaller, but there remains a higher percentage of migrants that takes time to pray and to go to church. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Esteemed candidate, as your work is really challenging us, we have another occasion for Professor Glomwijk to ask a further question or to enter into dialogue with you.
What estimate candidate? What do you think could migrants be a chance for the church in Europe and in Netherlands and Poland and in Europe? Could they be a chance for us for the problem for problems with secularization and so on in Europe? What do you think about it? Migrants as a chance for the church in Europe. Migrants from abroad Europe.
Highly esteemed opponent, yes, of course they can contribute in a very positive way, and we see that happening both among the lay people and also among the clergy, that there is an increasing contribution.
The session is adjourned for deliberation. Please, for the audience, await the committee's return. Thank you. Dear candidate, the doctorate board of Tilburg University has taken note of your dissertation. Having heard your defense, the doctorate board has decided to confer on you the doctoral degree. Your promoter, Professor Jan Loffold, is authorized to invest you with this dignity.
It gives me a great pleasure to accept the task assigned to me by the Rector Magnificus of this university. The virtue of the authority granted to us by the law and by the regulations of the university in accordance with the decision by the Doctorate Board of Tilburg University, I hereby promote you, Ward Josephus Adrianus Biemans, tot Doctor et tot Sacra Theologiae Doctor as well. You acquire hereby all the rights that by law or custom are or will be attached to the doctorate. Apart from this right, a doctorate also comes with obligations. These, first of all, include the execution of research and all other scholarly activities with the utmost integrity. The privilege of being a doctor also entails the society needs to be able to rely on the sound and independent judgment of those holding a doctorate. Do you promise to act according to the principle of scientific integrity in future scientific research?
Yes, I promise.
As proof, you having been awarded the title of doctor, we hand, Monique and ik, hand the certificate signed by the Rector Magnificus, our dean, and the supervisors us and confirmed with the university's seal of approval.
I perform a pleasant task. Learned, sir. In congratulating you on behalf of the Tilburg University Doctorate Board with the dignity acquired. I would now like to give the floor to the supervisor and co-supervisor for the pronunciation of the laudatio. Please be seated.
Mr. Ward, ik zal deze kleine toespraak in jouw moedertaal houden, omdat we zelf altijd in Nederlands hebben gesproken en discuteerd. En jouw dankwoord in de scriptie is ook in het Nederlands. Dus ik hoop, Francesco, spero che inconveniente a te is evident in the Netherlands, in the Dutch taal. Dutch speech. So, nou, je hebt een heel groot onderzoek gedaan. Een heel grote sample. En ik bedank Monique met de empirische competentie dat ze heeft ons geholpen in dit. En je hebt het gedaan naast jouw taak als studentenpastoor aan onze faculteit. En naast de taak in Amsterdam in de Jezuïetencommuniteit. En je bent op artikelen gepromoveerd. Dat was tussenin in de verdediging ook even thema. Dit is voor een geesteswetenschap als de theologie heel innovatief, om niet te zeggen ongekend. En het leidde ook tot, ik zou zeggen, hubbels of drempels tijdens het promotietraject. Omdat altijd de vraag was, we hebben een onderzoeksvraag, en de vraag van Marcel zat ook een beetje op deze kant. We hebben een onderzoeksvraag en dan hebben we redacties van journals die iets willen voor hun journals En hoe komt dat dan bij elkaar? Ja? Moeten we dan onderzoeksvraag aanpassen? Moeten we dan dat doen wat de redactie graag wil, omdat we de publicatie of dat we de reviewers tevreden stellen? Dat waren allemaal grote vragen die, zeg maar, iemand die op een boek promoveert, op deze manier niet zo tegenkomt. En in dat waard heb ik je leren kennen als iemand met een groot geduld en met een grote, ook, ik noem het in de jezuïtische taal, indifferentia ook. Ja, en een grote perseverantia as well. Ja. Hetzelfde perseverantia, echt doorgaan. En dan kwam weer een review terug, waar een reviewer vond het echt interessant en mooi en de andere niet. En wat doen we dan? En gaan we naar een andere journal toe en zo. Dus als het boekje ligt, is het een heel lang proces geweest wat er niet in staat. En dat heeft te maken met jouw persoonlijkheid. Dat je echt door bent gegaan met dit onderzoek. En nu, je hebt een nieuwe taak in het bisdom Haarlem-Amsterdam, kan je echt een beetje de vreugde genieten. Hopelijk, de bisschop maakt het zeker mogelijk ook, dat je de vreugde kan genieten. En ook de migranten, diegene waarover je hebt geschreven. De migrantenparochies kunnen de vreugde genieten van jouw onderzoek. In deze politieke tijd waar we in zitten, is het niet vanzelfsprekend op deze manier over migranten te schrijven. Je schrijft uit een christelijk, uit een katholiek perspectief. En je zegt dat iedereen, omdat we tot de familie Dei gehoren, tot ons hoort. Ja. En dat is, vind ik, een heel belangrijke boodschap ook van je boek. Er zijn geen grenzen, maar zoals Paus Franciscus het zei, we zijn allemaal, alle mensen van goede wil zijn welkom. En wij kunnen zelfs, en daarom vond ik ook de vragen zo boeiend vanuit de commissie, kunnen zelfs leren van hen. Ja? Dat is de benadering van het Tweede Vaticaanse Concilie. We kunnen leren van dat wat in de wereld speelt. We moeten niet alles prima vinden, we moeten niet alles accepteren, maar we moeten in eerste instantie, ook een groot woord van het synodaal proces van Paus Franciscus, luisteren en niet beoordelen. En ik denk dat jouw proefschrift hiervoor echt een goed voorbeeld is. En ook aan de studenten die je begeleidt op de faculteit. En ook voor allen waar je in het pastorale werk, die je in het pastorale werk tegenkomt. Een goed voorbeeld is voor deze houding. Deze jezuïtische houding van luisteren en niet in eerste instantie beoordelen. Ik wens jou nu als dokter van Sacra Theologiae, dokter van de theologie, heel veel zegen en vreugde toe. Niet alleen maar met de titel, maar ook met die taak die daaraan verbonden is. Van harte gefeliciteerd namens Monique en mij.
This brings us to the end of this academic session. On behalf of the doctorate board of Tilburg University, I would like to thank the committee members present here, and also I would like to briefly give the opportunity to the committee member in Zoom online to congratulate the young doctor. Afterwards, Professor Pesce, I would ask you to remain online until the cortege has left the aula. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for the doctor, not more the candidate, for the doctor, for your work. As I said, I really appreciate your topic. Now I'm teaching at the John Paul II Institute for Marriage and Family Studies and Sciences, and I think your research is relevant also for my research and my classes. So I'd like to invite you to, but I wish I could invite you to share your findings to my students next month. So for me, for my students, it could be very interesting to focus on this pattern and this challenge of intercultural and migrant families. So because I have students from all around the world, so I think your research could help them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
already new challenges are waiting. May I ask the guests who are present in the auditorium to leave the room after the cortege, row by row, starting with the family and guests in the first row. I now close the session. May I invite you to stand up, please, and ask the professors to leave their caps off. May we be filled with the breath of life, which will guide us towards the wisdom and knowledge to heal that which seems incurable, to accomplish that which seems impossible. The session is closed.